What's up, you beautiful franchise people? This is the second time I've used the term beautiful franchise people, and I feel like it's a very happy term. Thank you for joining us on this month's Coffee and Analytics. And I will say I was very, very close. I looked over at my refrigerator over here, saw the beer in it, and I was like, I have said you could do a beer or coffee, but I got work to do. And I got to give you guys some good insights. So I chose coffee. I hope you're having a beer. I hope you're enjoying the drink on this beautiful Friday in July. We have three main things to talk about today. Before I get into that, for anybody that is watching live, the comment feature is a wonderful tool. You can either make fun of me, I'll post it on the screen if that's what you want, or you can ask more questions and I'll make sure I address them. Ultimately, when I was framing this month's, there's a comment. Oh, cheers. See? Just like that. Just goes right on the screen. When I was preparing for this month's, as I always do, I go back and I look at the data of two important places. One is our 1851 data. Can I find any insight? And then secondly is our franchisee profiles that we've built up over the last few years to see, is there any rotations, any shifts that I need to address? And so as I'm looking through this, I'm like, okay, well, let's try to get a pulse on our clients. What are they trying to accomplish? And a very consistent thing that I've been hearing on two sides. One is, Nick, are you hearing that the leads for brokers are deteriorating and that brokers are having a tough time getting leads? And then secondly, it rotates over to how are we going to continue to grow as a franchisor? I really wish there was a silver bullet to franchising. Sometimes there are silver bullets, meaning we can find some sort of insight that we can push down the pedal on. Most of the time, it's kind of a game of puppetry of let's move this puppet over here and this puppet over here. And then collectively, we should be able to figure out some sort of program to help impact that brand and get them moving. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes the fundamentals or the foundational elements of the business have some chinks in the armor, such as unit level economics or franchisee growth, as in we haven't had a milestone or exciting piece of news for a while. Sometimes those can have impact or influence on how do we build this right program. But ultimately, when we start looking at all the different areas to win at, we got to figure out a pathway to win for franchise brands, because every franchise brand needs to grow either fatter, as in let's increase unit level economics, or up height-wise to try to get more franchisees into the system and then continue to make those fatter as well. So before I dive into kind of the magic of some of the things and insights that we're seeing from a marketing standpoint, I have two things that I want to address first. One is FranCamp, which we are doing for the second year in a row. Last year, let's see, can I do a new background? Look at that, FranCamp. I'm going to have to switch. Like I try to get all fancy there. Or let's see, do we have watch this, FranCamp. So FranCamp we have two of them this year. Next year, the plan is to have four. So this year we're doing two, Chicago in September, the 16th through the 18th, and Miami, December 2nd through the 4th. Chicago is all about building your brand story. So we're going to go back and look at the fundamentals, make sure things are sound. We have an incredible program. We've partnered with the Internicole law firm to build out this program where it goes programming and then into mastermind groups that are going to allow people to work through what is your brand story. And it's for both, all three. It's for not both, franchisees, franchisors, and franchise suppliers. And so we've engineered this program, which I'm super excited about. This year, our main programming is going to be in the historic Marshall Fields building, now Macy's. And then we have some cool parts or elements that are going to go into it. Ultimately, when we think about the brand story, and this is going to play into our second night event, you think about all the ingredients that go into building a great franchise. It's not just sales, it's not just marketing, it's not just operations, it's not legal. It's all of these things, which we're doing a cool cooking event on the second night. But we're going to build out these brand stories and really give you something tangible that you're able to put into play. So that's September. We actually have badges now for the camps that you're going to get a badge. And now we move into the second one in Miami, which this is now about building your adventure so that you can have your execution plan for 2025. How am I going to measure this? How am I going to take this brand story and put it to work? So we're now building these on top of each other. If you miss one, it doesn't mean you're still going to have some of the tools that come out of that first one, and we'll prepare you for that next camp. But we're trying to build on these so that we can give brands their own tools to take back and put to work. So super excited about those two. That was an important element that we had to add in. We're not trying to win the popularity contest. I'm not going to come out and say we had 2,500 people at FranCamp. I'm trying to build something that has the right people with the right mentality of let's look honestly at our systems and figure out solutions, and let's be able to build up a network and rely on. So FranCamp, those 2 dates. Registration page for those that are watching is live on the site. There are a bunch of site enhancements that are going to go live on Monday, but on FranCamp, if you don't have the approval code, because we're being very, very specific so that we can align brands to the right masterclasses, if you don't have the approval code, reach out and we can give it to you. Second thing, just a quick update on Growth Club. For those of you that have been following along, Growth Club we created as basically what would it look like to have the MLS of franchising and keep on building up all of these opportunities so candidates can easily figure out what opportunity makes sense for them as level one. And then level two is how do we build a fractional FSO so that we're supplementing the teams or helping founders with a franchise development team around them. And so we turned the first 6 months into it. We have 60 brands that are in the camp, which is awesome. In the club. And now we've really started diving into the lead generation side, which I'm going to talk about from a digital standpoint in a second. So in my note, I said we first activated bucket advertising. Bucket advertising has the potential to catch more candidates who have money, just no idea what to buy. These, I think, are the easiest candidates to coach, which is where some of the broker networks have had tremendous success in capturing these folks that say, look, I don't know what I want. What should I look at? Here's how much money I have. Align me to what brand makes sense. Early indicators show that the cost per deal and cost per acquisition is less in bucket advertising than it is in specific advertising. I've really looked hard. I worked with our team very aggressively over the last 2 months to study the different types of brands that we market. And a restaurant brand, it's a double-edged sword in that a restaurant brand has beautiful billboards, which is their restaurants, that have a customer flow of people that are coming through that if they educate the right way, they can educate that, yes, we are actually a franchise. And if you have affinity for our brand, you could look at this. On the flip side, the hard part of, say, Google ads for a restaurant brand is that very few people start in the funnel of what restaurant brands exist. I have some money. I don't know what restaurant brand exists. Majority of people who buy a restaurant franchise, and we can see this back in our data, go through the pathway of saying, I love this food here. I would like to be a franchise owner, or I've worked in the industry. I've always dreamt of owning my own restaurant. I'm a fan of this brand. And so if you were to look at the funnel, like the candidate for a restaurant brand is further down automatically because they already have the affinity for the brand. this is not me shitting on commercial cleaning by any means, but I don't know that any child says, when I grow up, I want to own a commercial cleaning franchise. There are children that, when they're young, say, I would like to make a lot of money. And so that they take the money that they have and they can align it, and that's where you end up buying commercial cleaning. And so the affinity on some of the home service brands misses, therefore they don't get to jump that far ahead in the funnel. So in my opinion, some of the bucket advertising will be interesting. Second, we are moving the Growth Club database onto 1851 for anybody that's been on it. What we miss, and you can see it, I'm shaking my head. I built 1851 Growth Club as a separate website. Naturally, it's kind of a different business where FSO meets brokerage. And that was a miss because I'm spending all this energy trying to educate the buyer on 1851. I was like, why am I pushing all these people to another website? So 1851 Growth Club will still have its own site, but it's all designed to push back into 1851 so that we have a little bit more ability to educate the candidate of what franchising is. If any of you have been on Meet the Zor or have watched Meet the Zor on YouTube, what you've seen is I've shifted my conversations really around the educational side. And all of us that are in franchising, if we went back to the day before we fell into franchising, we would most likely say we had no idea what it was. And so how do we now tie, I have this money, I would like to own my own business, I would like to skip the line and not have to invest a ton of money into building or the infrastructure around my own business. I need to be educated on what franchising is. Now let me get into the funnel. That's important. And our ad spend, which has been very interesting to study. We're trying various things. Our ad spend is getting quite large. Therefore, I'd rather drive them into a place where all of our clients would like to capture those people anyway. So it gives them the upside there. So the second point is that we're moving on to 1851, which should be ready by the next Coffee and Analytics. So now I said, sure, there have been some magical tools that have skyrocketed growth. We're all looking for what are those magic tools, the broker networks, but the fees are getting out of control. And I think all of us agree on that. I've long predicted that there would be eventual shift back towards organic, and I think it's coming now. Most franchisors that I talk with say, yes, we would like to still be in the broker network. We still see value in it, and I totally think there's value in it. But how do we increase our organic or house leads? And I said, so now the word organic is somewhat misleading. This is because organic is still paid marketing. Pay for a broker, you pay for marketing. It's not like it's true organic. Even if you think about true organic in a restaurant brand, I still had to go try your product or fall in love with your business or see PR or some sort of buzz. So organic isn't really true. It's just a different form of what you budget and you pay for from a marketing standpoint. The reason for the shift back is the return is not aligning to the commission paid. And so you're seeing this happen in the industry. I have a client, I was with them this week. They got a call from a broker. Deal had nothing to do with another unit. Broker called them and said, hey, I see your franchisee just opened up another location. Now pay me my fee. The franchisor's like, we paid you your fee on the first unit. That's what our deal was. No. I brought him in. Pay me my money. And so that's the ransom stuff or these large statements, like that's getting out of control. And again, the return, if that number, because we've used the number $25,000 per deal, if it's getting past that and we know that we can engineer FranDev at $25,000 deal, the franchisors are having a shift here. And so what that means is obviously we're going to have to consolidate franchise fees. We're going to have to consolidate what brokers are paid. And we're going to have to offset budgets to try to get 50-50 or a little bit more on the organic side. And so the shift is happening in real time and we're watching it. We're watching it happen, but it's all because of what is the return on investment on me paying these giant fees to the broker. Now, the challenge is whether whether spoken or not, or admitted or not, a challenge broker, trying to be kind, will look at who pays us the most and then tell the candidates, this is what you should buy. And I've said this before. I talked with a couple on Meet the Z, and I said, tell me about your buying process. I said, we had aging parents. They both passed away. We were their caregivers. We wanted to go in senior care. We worked with a franchise broker. The franchise broker told us to get into the donut business or the soccer business. They said, we don't like soccer and we don't want to be in the food business. They ended up in senior care, but that conversation was swung based on the commissions paid. We have to be responsible. We have to lead people that are in good investor life savings back to the brand that makes most sense for them. I think majority of real estate agents don't say, yeah, don't worry about that leak in the roof. It's not a big deal. Just go ahead and buy it and we'll worry about it later. No, they try guiding and giving you the right principle and information so that you can make your own decision. Now, if you decide after X, Y, and Z, you decide you want to get in the donut business and not senior care, totally fine. But that's happening. So the brokers, the bad brokers need to go away. The good brokers need to be lifted up. And then the fees have to be right size. Right now, $25,000 seems to make sense, but $25,000 per deal is a bucket number, not an actual. Really what we should be looking at is, in my opinion, 3-year royalty, what's going to come in. A third of that is a good investment into development. That should be our budget per deal. Like that and it's very back of the napkin, but it at least gives you some of my perspective on that. So with so many franchisors buying digital, here comes issue number one, and these are the insights that I saw. So many franchisors buying digital ads to drive people to their brands, like the Look at Me ads. The competition for qualified, ready to buy candidates has gone lopsided. Thus, the shift is turning more towards educational content. If you are reading the article that is attached to this, I put Dog Training Elite's education page. We filmed a video with them. I filmed another one this morning with Pigtails and Crew Cuts, where we're talking about what is franchising and then what should we look at in their FDD. I think those are the two things that need to be described back to the candidate so that when they're making the decision to have a conversation with you, they understand what is franchising and what is an FDD so that they have some sort of clarity in the process. Again, going back to my original statement, all these franchise brands, hopefully not yours, but all these franchise brands, you land on the website, says buy my franchise. It doesn't say let us educate you on what franchising is or give you the resources to do that. Number two, so you're thinking about owning a category broadly versus just your brand while continuing to own your own brand. So starting to think about this, if you think about owning a category broadly versus just your brand, especially if you're not in restaurants, what you're doing is saying, here are the tricks to buy a senior care brand. Or here are the insights to becoming a great senior care franchisee. And so now you're building some of this content that is more about the industry now too, as level 2, so that you can educate the buyer on why this category matters. And so that's an interesting. I'm going to pause there because Anna and I said I would be interactive. Why just 3-year royalty as a measure when the ZOR? And I totally agree with you. I'm just trying to give a baby step here. If franchisors will take 3-year royalty to figure out what should be their cost per deal. But no, you are correct. Like 10-year royalty, let's say it's $1 million. If I said, Anna, I'm going to write you a check for $1 million, how much money would you be willing to give me? You might say, I'm willing to give you $900,000. I still got $100,000, which is crazy because franchisors that are going to get $1 million in royalty over 10 years. If I say go spend $25,000 on a deal, they're like, no way. It's like, but $25,000 could be worth $1 million. Totally agree with you. I'm just trying to get the baby step on that point. Keep adding comments. Brands that spend under $10,000 a month are in trouble. You heard me correct. It is what it is. Unless you have some sort of crazy return on investment, and I mean crazy, not some numbers that is reserved for a couple of franchisees. then you have to create a loud drumbeat to win at franchising. This should make complete sense to most of you. And if you're truly honest, you understand the amount of money you can make from a single franchise deal, which I just addressed with Anna's comment, is quite large. If that franchisee expands even more, yet when we talk about what we are willing to spend, it's such a small number, you have to be willing to pay more for a product, a franchisee, than you get. And so part of it is, if I look at the brands that hit critical mass, they have a drum beat that's louder. So you hear this versus this. And so it doesn't mean you can't get to winning, but sometimes winning is defined by the financial resources. And I think it's the toughest part about emerging brands. Most of them are not well capitalized or capitalized enough to compete with the big brands. And that's where like things like PR and content give you another type of crapshoot to get your message out there that hopefully won't break the bank the same way that digital marketing will. But the brands that eventually get the snowball rolling down the hill are spending 10 grand a month. And so it gives you a sense. There are also new age brokers or FSOs that are appearing that are spending a lot more than that too. And you got to think they want that deal just as much as you do as a franchisor. And so it's getting very competitive. So I said at the beginning, broker leads are deteriorating. Part of that is an individual broker can't outspend what's being spent. A grouping of brokerages is outspending and capturing those candidates first. And then you add in the franchisors. I would love to see the total ad spend spent on FranDev marketing. And then you really evaluate that and say, of those dollars spent, we're driving them to sell or buy off of our sale versus educational. What happens if we close that gap on that spend? So that $10,000 is going to be scary to a lot of you, but it is what it is. There is too much noise. You have to beat a drum beat until the funnel is large. Like you have to do it. And again, if you go back to what Anna said, she said 10 years. I said 3. If you figure out what are you going to get in royalty, what is the potential return on investment for you, it'll change things. If you're buying a house and you're like, wow, I could buy this house for $500,000, but the neighborhood's going up. I see construction going on. It could be worth $1 million. Well, that's a great return after taxes. Call it $250,000 for argument's sake. But if I take that same mentality into franchising, a lot of people are nervous about it. But if you're going to get there, or be comfortable taking the crapshoot. Remember, it will take 6+ months to build your funnel. So that will leave you scared for a while, and you got to get comfortable with being scared. I've talked a lot recently about the value of the dollar. For franchisees to win, they can't look at the short-term value of a dollar. If they do, they're going to really struggle. If they look at the long-term value of a dollar, they're going to win, because the short-term for franchisee, their dollar is worth 90 cents after fees. And if they're cheap and they're like, I'm going to pick that real estate and to save a little bit of money that could put risk customers, and they're like, I don't want to spend this money on marketing. I'm just not comfortable. Well, that puts risk on customer acquisition. I'm going to go a little bit cheaper on our staff. That could hurt in customer relations, which then hurts money, which then probably prevents you from scaling. And so for the franchisor, obviously you want someone that's like, I'm in this for the long term. I don't care if I make money in the first 3 years. I need to build this thing up to scale so that I can build wealth for my family. The challenge with that is majority of people that buy a franchise start off at how do I replace my income versus how do I build a great investment. And so again, like some of this stuff is what it is. It's franchising. But I think it's worthwhile to talk about it and think about it. So some of this, again, 6-month drumbeat, lots of money spent. I said, this is why, which is what we did on Growth Club in our spend. But here's the magic. We've been $10,000 a month. What does the funnel look like? Building that drumbeat. And now it's turning. So, I mean, it would have been very hypocritical of me to say, well, we're going to go on the cheap on Growth Club when I'm advising everybody else not to. And now that we didn't go cheap, now the candidates are coming in. We did the IFE, spent a lot on that in New York. We have steady drumbeats going on Google. We have our meta ads running. Content is building on the side. We have PR engine going. So I've taken all the elements that I would sell to a brand and said, let's go ahead and put our money where our mouth is. And I'll tell you that the early positive indicators are looking very good. Which obviously that was our responsibility back to our clients too. Digital tight, meta retargeting, but retargeting is specific. Go big on retargeting. Those are people who have, at the very least, ended up on your development site and could potentially want more. I'm not going to disclose something yet because we're in testing, but I'm also testing a form of retargeting to capture a little bit more information on who the person is to see if we can turn those into conversations. And so we're making a big investment into that to see what happens there. And number 8, less is more. Start with deals, not leads. I can get you leads. I say this to our clients, I can get you leads, but I want to get you deals. So just like Growth Club, if they suck, are not ready to buy, and don't have enough money, then what? And so very, very candidly, direct leads off of Meta, garbage. Matching an audience on Meta, meaning taking your candidates and aligning your messaging to them on Meta, good. I've had conversations with development folks, and they're like, nobody. The only reason people are on Meta is share photos of their grandchildren. Exactly. And we take the insight, why do people buy a franchise? For their family. And so we have the insight that people are on there for their family. If any of you are friends with me on Facebook, that's really, I post family stuff. I post either positive or somewhat negative on Chicago sports and franchising. I mean, that's bluntly all I really love is my family, Chicago sports and franchising. But I'm on there. Do I think you can sell a franchise on Facebook? I don't. Do I think you can give a piece of content that connects with me on Facebook? I do. I've used this example before. I went to a small college in Des Moines, Iowa called Drake. Some of you probably have no idea what that means. If I see a piece of content about Drake come over my newsfeed, I'm interested automatically because it connects with me. And so career background, jobs, where you grew up, alumni networks, all these things, we all know we're interested in it automatically. Well, let's use those insights and build content, not, hey, have you ever thought about owning your own franchise? It's very high funnel. So the leads on Meta, not great. Traffic from Meta, not great unless you tighten it. LinkedIn right now is expensive. Cost per click is high. Be smart with it. Some of the persona marketing on there is tremendous. Google is great, again, for restaurant brands. I don't know that that's your solve. You really have to go re-examine your 4 walls. Giving incentives back to your franchisees. If you're willing to pay a franchise broker $25,000 per deal, why not pay that to your franchisees who validate for you? Like something to think about. And then again, like the big message here is you're either going to make the decision to spend the money on the drumbeat, 10 grand a month minimum, or you're going to figure out a way, how do we use PR, get the media to talk about us as a way to offset that, or content, which is you controlling your story. And then you're going to look at your 4 walls and say, well, what can we do that costs us nothing? And I think those are important elements. All of these things are going to be worked through individually at FranCamp. So if you've watched this, we would love to have you obviously get approved to go and have you at one or both. You'll get value out of it. It doesn't cost that much. We are making sure you get value out of it. Even if you didn't get value out of it, Chicago, we're doing Cubs game, cooking events, cocktail reception, and Chicago in the early fall. So it's beautiful. And then Miami, we're doing golf and a boating thing that aligns with a venture. We're going to take the worst franchisor and have them ski off the back of the boat. Just kidding. So we have some cool things going there. And if you're not a part of Growth Club, it's $0 a month. It's paid for performance. So there's a solve there. Max, you got it. I will send it to you. And that's that. So thank you. I happen to do it again, 31 minutes this time. Thank you for paying attention. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Again, happy to help you any way that I possibly can. Go enjoy that drink. I hope to see you soon. Thank you for spending this Friday afternoon with me. Take care.